And this is the motor that was taken out of this housing. And this housing is listed as a model YEF80. After removing the motor and the housing, which provides the fan which inflates the rest of the inflatable nativity scene, this is what we're left with. So we've got one wire that comes in. This is the plug-in wire, and then the other wire goes back into the lights. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a discarded fan for a central heat system, which is right here. And this is called a (44-315-1) Lamb 115 volt thermally protected extraction fan or exhaust fan for a central air system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach this exhaust fan to this base. I'm going to insulate it with some styrofoam that's in the shape of a square, and I'm merely going to spread it out around the hole. Put the fan on top of this, which will seal it. The air will be coming up through right where my finger is, which is right over here. So this hole is the intake for this fan, and it will suck the air up through the base, insulating any possibility of leakage around the side of this extraction fan. This will then be pointing down toward the ground, and it will suck air up through that base, past this styrofoam seal, into the fan area, and exhaust it here into the inflatable area back of this right here. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. So this styrofoam looks to be about maybe 3/4 of an inch thick, and it measures. I just happened to get this out of a box that was shipped from an Amazon dealer, and it happens to be about 8 inches by 5 inches. Anything else that's styrofoam, they actually have it's like a round styrofoam line that you can buy, and you could probably just put that around as well. I'm going to hot glue this down. You can see here's where the cord comes in. The electrical cord that'll go out to the outlet. It's going to come in and power this fan I'm going to put in, and I'm going to stretch this little styrofoam square around the hole, and it, as you can see, it gives a nice little indentation for the inlet cord, and I'm just going to hot glue it down in about this position. Okay, so here goes the styrofoam square. It's going to be hot glued all the way around. I'm going to then turn this over and put it down on the base. So I'm going to turn this over where the styrofoam will have the wet glue on it, or the hot glue, and glue it down. Once that dries, I'm going to take this motor, this fan, and I'm going to put it down on top of this styrofoam gasket. So you can see here's the inlet, and there's the inlet, there's the gasket. This is going to go on top, and I'm going to attach screws through the frame of this motor down through the base of the GEMMY inflatable structure. And one other point is I'm going to take the exhaust portion, you can see right here, I'm going to point that right toward the middle of where this nylon netting or the nylon canopy goes that is inflated. So I'm not going to put it like this. I'm going to put it where it goes right in the center of where all of this material is, so that it'll go right in the middle of that. So what I'm using here is a galvanized, it's almost like a wood screw. It's about 2.5 inches long, and I'm putting that through these little holes in the side of the motor, and that's going to anchor it down. There's 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, and the 4th one's going to go right there. And I'm using the screw as kind of a drill, and once it starts to bite through the plastic on the bottom of the base, then I'll slow it down and cinch them all up exactly the same distance, so that this motor will be flat on the base. All right, so now I've got the 2 wires for the motor, yellow and black. I've got the 2 wires coming in from the plug that goes to the power outlet, and there's a 6-amp fuse in the plug of this. And then here's the 2 wires that I have for the lights. And there's the wires for the lights. So I'm going to put all these together in a couple of these wire connectors, the yellow kind that will take 3 or 4 wires each one of them. So I'll have 2 wire connectors, and there'll be 3 wires into each one of them, and the wires I just showed. Electric connector box that came on top of the fan assembly in the original box with this failed motor that came in the plastic cage. So I'm going to use these wire connectors. These are going to be seals going through these 2 holes right here. There's a small hole and a larger hole. This will be the smaller hole that I have in my hand. Then the larger one is right here. That's going to be for the power wire that goes to the outlet. It's going to go through the top of this cover, which is going to go here, and then the wires for the fan are going to come through this hole right here. So here are the 3 different wires all put together with 2 wire nuts. Here's the 2 wires from the electric motor. Here's the 2 wires that go to the lights, and here are the 2 wires. Actually, this is the power cord, and this is to the lights. So they're all going to go inside this box, and there's 2 wire nuts connecting each of the wires. They're going to go inside this box, and I'm going to glue that somewhere on the top of this frame. And I'm also going to make a waterproof cover for this, just to keep it out of the weather, since it is an AC motor. Okay, I'm going to use a gallon jug, cut the top off, and I'm going to do this just a little bit higher than the motor is, so I can turn it over, put it on the motor. You can see I've got the housing with all the wire nuts in it. This is going to go over the top of it, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to fit that on here in just a second. So I've scribed a mark around the 1 inch. I'm also going to have a slot for the electric lines that have to go into that little box. A line around the jug. Here's the ragged edge, of which I cut around, and then this line is 1 inch from the bottom. So I'm going to use a pair of scissors to cut this right up to the line. I'm going to do that every 1.5 inches all the way around, and then I'll be able to bend those out and glue them down on top of the motor. Now I've bent these 1.5 inch sections of the what used to be the side of this gallon jug, and that's going to go down like so, and then I will eventually get this box fit in there, and I'm going to have a slot for the wires to come out of this plastic housing as well. This is all to keep it waterproof. And here I'm hot gluing each little flap with hot glue. And see how it seals it right here? I'm also going to seal every corner right here where there's been a cut. And here is the top of the gallon jug with the bottom edges cut out. I hot glued underneath each one of those little flaps, and then I've also hot glued the little corner of each cut and where the wires come out. So it's other than sticking it down in the big tub of water, it's pretty well waterproof. So here's what it looks like sitting on its old GEMMY base. So the air will come out this way into the bag and should inflate it. So we'll give it a test here in just a minute. See what's the worst thing that can happen. It can blow up, but I don't think it will. It's waterproof and it's all wired, ready to go. Here's the plug that has a little door that opens up for the 6 amp fuse, and if anything happens electrically, this little fuse will blow and protect either the inflatable or the person who's dealing with it. And the finishing touch, here you can see the intake of the exhaust motor fastened to the base of the GEMMY nativity scene. And you can see it's not quite centered, and what I did was I started off with a hole in the center, and then when I turned it back over to look at it from the top, I wanted to make sure that these screws, like right here, here, and here, were going to be fairly centered. So they're centered for the screws. That's why this is a little bit off, but that's just the way the thing was designed. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some drywall screen and I'm going to cut it to fit, and I'm going to place it under here so that it won't suck up any leaves, sticks, and big bugs. And then it'll just have to be checked every season to make sure it's not clogged up. And that should be the end of it, and we'll test it here in a minute. Okay, so here goes the test. We will plug it in and see what happens. We have a nativity scene powered by an exhaust fan that came out of a central heat unit. Let's get our cape down there, and it looks like it's working for the grand prize of probably $3. And there it is. Works like a champ. Lasts a long time. Thanks for watching.